Okay, now if I speak too fast, please let me know. Now,
Okay.
please unmute yourself there to avoid distraction. Okay, everyone. Okay, good evening, everyone. I am Chubzang Tangbi from central part of Bhutan. And now, based on my love towards nature and special interest in birds, wildlife, and conservation, I started Langur Eco Travels in 2009, which is a travel company specialized in running bird watching and wildlife holidays in Bhutan. Now, before I start, I would like to first of all thank Mr. Mark Liu as well as Mr. Victor Yu and all the team and members at Asian Bird Fair for giving me this wonderful opportunity this evening to talk about my country, which is Bhutan. Some of you may be wondering where Bhutan is, although quite a few of you here have already been to Bhutan many times. And, let me set you on the context. Bhutan is a small country with a total area of 38,394 square kilometers, and we are nestled high up in the eastern Himalayas, squeezed between two of the most populated countries in the world, where we have China in the north and India to the south, east, and west. Now, Bhutan has a population of about 750,000 people. Now, back in the 1970s, our His Majesty the Fourth King famously pronounced that for Bhutan, gross national happiness is more important than gross national product. However, since all the development in the country is driven with gross national happiness philosophy, which is a pioneering vision that aims to improve the happiness and well-being of the people. Now, one of the four main pillars that make up gross national happiness is the preservation of our environment, which is what I'm going to focus my talk for this evening. Now, straddling between the two major Indo-Malayan and Polar-Arctic biogeographic realms is part of the Eastern Himalayan region, and at current, more than 70% of the country is under forest cover, and about 50% of the total land of the country is demarcated as protected areas, which are shown in color here, and which includes national park, strict wildlife sanctuaries, and biological corridors, which are shown in green here in this map. And these biological corridors are very, very important as they allow wildlife to roam freely throughout the country. But today, Bhutan is in an area designated as one of the world's few remaining global biodiversity hotspots. Bhutan is also the only country in the world which absorbs more carbon dioxide than it produces. Now, broadly speaking, Bhutan can be divided into three distinct ecofloristic zones where we have extraordinary range of habitats from undisturbed forest at 150 meters, going through exquisitely warm and at higher elevation, cool broadleaf forest, which extends into towering evergreen forest of fir, hemlock, and spruce. Now, in Bhutan, tree lines occur at much higher elevations at around 4,000 meters. Now, due to these vast range of habitats and varied altitudinal range, Bhutan is home to at least 740 species of birds, of which about 85 species have been added to the country's list only in the last 12 years. Now, as more and more birders visit the unexplored areas of Bhutan, where we have quite a lot of untouched forests still discovered, yet to explore, as more and more birders visit these areas, many more species are yet to be discovered. But Bhutan so far does not have any endemic species of our own. However, we lie within the Eastern Himalayan endemic bird area, and we harbor about 17 globally threatened species and at least 12 range restricted species. Now, this means that those birds are found only within the Eastern Himalayan region. Bhutan is also home to at least 165 species of mammals, including 27 species that are globally threatened. But if you visit Bhutan, some of the very common mammals you will see in the area include the capped and common gray langur, which can be seen fairly common in their range. And common goral is also which is a wild goat species, can also be seen along the roadside. Yellow-throated martin, which is also known as Himalayan yellow-throated martin, which can be seen fairly common within subtropical to mid-temperate forest in the country. Then Malayan giant squirrel, which is a rather large squirrel, can also be seen throughout much of the subtropical forest from 500 meters going up to 2000 meters. And the last one is the large-eared pika, which can be found in the alpine meadows. But in terms of when you say mammals, tigers might be found anywhere from the base of the Himalayan foothills at 150 meters, going all the way up to 5,500 meters. Now, this has been documented in one of the BBC wildlife programs quite a few years ago. And if you like to watch this program, it is called The Lost Land of the Tigers, which consists of 3 episodes, which is a film shot entirely in Bhutan. Now, the diversity of Bhutan's flora is no less impressive, as more than 5,600 species of seed plants are found, of which 105 species that are endemic to Bhutan, and 600 species of orchids, 50 that are endemic, and 48 species of rhododendrons, 4 endemic, and more than 300 species of medicinal plants are also found within Bhutan. And due to the rich habitat and varied altitudinal range, Bhutan is also home to at least 700 species of butterflies, and more than of moths are also found within Bhutan. Now, the national butterfly is Lotlow's Bhutan swallowtail, which used to be the only endemic species found in Bhutan, but it is now found in the state of Arunachal Pradesh in northeastern India. Now, this map shows you our national highway, which goes right the way through the country, which is actually the only highway going east-west. Yeah, but and it is also the road that we use for birding, and most of the birding is done on the roadside. And I find it more productive than venturing into the forest, because of the thick cover. It makes it very difficult to see birds from the forest in the forest. Yeah. So it is much better to keep on the road. And despite being the national highway, the traffic is very minimal on these roads. So for this talk, I'm going to take you through the country, traveling through this route, yeah, and from central Bhutan going down to the south to explore the south central part of Bhutan, which is very good for birds and wildlife, and ending the talk in Paro in the western region. Now, you will be you would start the tour in Guwahati Airport in Assam, which is down here. You would arrive from either Delhi or Calcutta, and I think now you also have flight from Bangkok, I think. So you can fly in from Bangkok to Guwahati, where we will set up a pickup. And from there, you drive up to Samdukjongkhar, which takes about 4 hours journey, including few birding stops. It is very good for birds in the Indian plains. Some of the species you won't see in Bhutan. Now, the very good area in Assam to birds is the rubbish dump site near Guwahati Airport, which is particularly good for few species that are very rare even in the Indian subcontinent, which includes the greater and the lesser adjutant storks. And also in the nearby fields, you should be able to see many Asian openbills. These are very, very rare species in Bhutan, including hundreds of black kites can also be seen soaring high above the rubbish dump site in Guwahati. Yeah? And then from Guwahati, you arrive in Samdukjongkhar, which is in southeastern part of Bhutan. I don't know whether you see my cursor, but it is in this region. Now you can explore the forest between, this is a tropical forest, yeah? You explore between 150 meters up to 800 meters at Deotang Valley. And the forest consists of subtropical sal forest, which is excellent not only for birds, but also for many varieties of butterflies and orchids. Now, the best time to visit Bhutan for birding is during the months of spring and autumn. So starting from early February through to May, and then again in autumn from September to November are generally good, not only for birds, but also for cultural and trekking holidays. Duration-wise, I would recommend anywhere from 10 to 20 days for birding, which should cover most part of the prime birding locations in Bhutan. Now, in and around Samrujonkar, you should be able to see all 4 species of hornbills that are found in Bhutan. And this one is perhaps the most special one. It is the rufous-necked hornbill, and it is one of the top 5 species and one of the 17 globally vulnerable species. Now, but in Bhutan, rufous-necked hornbills are fairly common, which can be seen throughout much of the subtropical to mid-temperate primary broadleaf forest. And I have a short video of this male, if I can play. Beautiful. And in and around Samrujonkar, you can also get great hornbills, which can be seen either in pairs or flocks of up to 30 birds. And wreath and oriental pied hornbills are also available in this region, but they are the least common species found in Bhutan, with the Samrujonkar area being one of the best these beautiful species. Also within this subtropical region, we get Blythe's kingfisher, which is a rather rare species for Bhutan, and large-tailed nightjars can also be found along the roadside walls, especially during nighttime. They can be very loud, and you can hear them around Samrujonkar's subtropical forest. And then in the bamboo stands and in the tropical forest, you get golden-fronted leopard and pale-chinned flycatchers. Now, these are a few of the birds that you will not see elsewhere in Bhutan. So, Samrujonkar is one of the best places for these species. Now, bulbuls are some of the easiest group of birds you will see in Bhutan, and we have 9 species. In the subtropical broadleaf forest, we get red-whiskered, black-crested, ashy, and white-throated bulbuls. Whereas from subtropical to mid-temperate broadleaf forest, we get mountain striated black and Himalayan bulbuls. Now, lesser necklace laughing thrush, which is a beautiful species, can also be found within altitudes of 1,400 meters. It is often seen in mixed flocks with other laughing thrushes, especially greater necklace laughing thrushes. And then there's a dry scrub forest above Samrujonkar, which is for Siberian ruby throat, which are some of our wintering birds. And this is some of the long-legged songbirds. And the adult male has a jewel-like red throat, which is rather stunning. And then white-rumped shama, which is a tropical broadleaf forest species, and it is restricted to altitudes of up to 700 meters. It has a rather melodious song as well. Now, we don't have hummingbird. We have the equivalent sunbirds, which are stunningly beautiful. Throughout much of the subtropical region, we have crimson and black-throated sunbirds, which are fairly common within their range. And in the wild bananas, in the evergreen broadleaf forest, we get little spider hunter, which is a rather scarce species, very rare, and found only in the tropical lowlands. But its cousin, streaked spider hunters, can be found throughout much of the subtropical to mid-temperate forest in Bhutan. Now, from Samrujonkar, we travel to slightly higher Morong Valley at 1,500 meters. This sunset photo is taken from our Morong campsite, which shows you the Himalayan foothills and the distant Indian plains in the just below the horizon. Now, if you prefer camping, Morong Valley is the best place for 1 or 2 nights to explore the semi-evergreen and evergreen broadleaf forest, which is excellent for many species of birds that are slightly different from Samdujongkor area because of the different altitudes. Silver-eared Mesias can be found in flocks of up to 30 birds. Another can be found within the flocks of coral-billed scimitar babblers and euhenas. And then scanning the primary broadleaf forest along the Morong Valley, you should be able to see another one of the top 5 species from Bhutan, which is the beautiful nuthatch. It is again another globally vulnerable. Now, beautiful nuthatch is a mixed flock species which can often associate together with sultan tit, Himalayan kutia, and white-browed shrike babblers, all of which can be seen foraging on high epiphytic trees. Now, one of the greatest experience about birding in Bhutan or in the Himalayas are the endless of species. Quite often you get between 30 to 40 the number of bird species coming in a single flock, which makes every birder very, very excited. Here's a short clip of the beautiful nuthatch. I was very close to the bird, actually. I couldn't fit the bird in the frame. It was too close. And then we get a great selection of warblers and bush warblers, especially during the springtime. We can moving through to their summer breeding grounds. And then in the mixed broadleaf forest, we get a few of the regular Philoscopus warblers, which are Blythe's leaf, lemon, ashy throat, yellow vented, and gray-hooded warblers, which are very common and can be seen on everyday basis. And also some of the skulking species of bush warblers, and regularly seen amongst them are the russet, gray-sided, brown-flanked, and Hume's bush warbler, which are very shy and found in low bushes. And then we get 6 species of euhenas found throughout much of Bhutan. Now here I have separated them in 2 different. Top 3 are found broadleaf forest, white-naped, striated, and black-chinned euhenas. And then in the upper mid-temperate conifer forest, we get striped-throated, whiskered, and rufous-vented euhenas, often seen in mixed flocks as well. And then from Morong, it is approximately 90 kilometers to Trashigang in the east, which goes over Yonthula Pass at 2,740 meters. Yeah? And Trashigang is at an elevation of 1,400 meters, and the forest is dominated mainly with stands of cheerpine trees, actually, which supports very little bird life. But sometimes you can see rare passage migrant species such as steppe eagle, as the fire-breasted flowerpeckers are very, very common and seen throughout much of Bhutan. And then in the winter, we get wall creepers, often seen creeping along the roadside walls and sometimes on traditional building walls as well. Now, our next stop is in Limitang Valley, passing through the eastern town of Mongar. Limitang is located at an altitude of 700 meters, and it is another great place for birding. Along the river valley in Limitang, you should be able to find a rather rare species of the fish owl, which is tawny fish owl. It is a resident bird that is found between 400 to 2,400 meters. And then also along here, you're able to see the slaty-backed forktail, one of the 5 species we get in Bhutan. And blue-cap rock thrush can be seen along the roadside as well. Now, this is a male, which is stunningly beautiful. And then in the nearby forest and in the farmland, you should be able to see the rufous-necked and white-crested laughing thrushes, which are widespread throughout much of the subtropical areas in Bhutan. And then from Limitang, we climb up to Yongkola at 1800 meters. And it is a place where you can spend a few days to explore the bird-rich Phumshingla National Park. Now, this park is considered to be one of the best birding hotspots in all of Asia. Yeah? And it is right here in this region. And even today, the park forest in this region, if it surprises me with lifer even today. Yeah, so it is very. It makes me very excited to every time I go to explore this region. And within this park, it is particularly good for babblers, wren babblers, and copwings. These are some of our very difficult species to see. And this is Himalayan wedge-billed babbler. She is also known as wedge-billed wren babbler. This is one of, and Yongkola region is one of the only 2 sites available for this species, as you can see from the map here. And it is also one of the 12 range restricted species. Other species of wren babblers found along the Phumshingla National Park include the rufous-throated wren babbler, which is restricted range species, but along Yongkola it is fairly common, but rare, very rare elsewhere in the world. Long-billed wren babbler is also another bird for Bhutan, and then 2 of the most numerous wren babblers are the scaly-breasted and pygmy wren babblers, which are also now called copwings. And then there is no doubt one of the most charismatic species from Bhutan is the wart trogon. And Bhutan probably is the best place for this beautiful trogon. As you can see in the distribution map here, it can be seen throughout much of the upper mid-temperate broadleaf forest. Now I have a short video of a male where you can hear this bird calling. Now that is the call in the background is of the white-tailed robin. And then some of the prettiest group of birds found in Bhutan are the different types of laughing thrushes. And just along Phumshingla National Park, you can see as many as 14 species of laughing thrush, including the beautifully colored red-faced Leo sigla and the rather scarce rufous-chinned laughing thrush. Now, I forgot to mention that Bhutan is a Buddhist country where killing is considered sinful. And as a result, sometimes even the most difficult and skulking species appear to be much tamer than in other parts of the world. Also along the Yongkola region, we get Hodgson's frogmouth. Now you can see in the map, it is the Yongkola area is the only area where this species is found. Now, the best time to see this beautiful species is at dusk or just after nightfall when they can be heard calling. And then if you take a short night drive, you will be able to see the Bhutan giant flying squirrel, which is actually a complete nocturnal mammal. But by using searchlight, eye shines can be seen quite easily on this mammal. Then we get 18 species of owls in Bhutan, and of which 9 species can be found just along Phumshingla National Park. And brown wood owl, which is a rare resident found along the Yongkola settlements. Whereas the collared scops owl is a species that is found at a slightly lower altitudes along Limitang River Valley. And then we get collared and Asian barred owlets, which are the most numerous of the owls found in Bhutan. They are widespread across the country. I have a short video again of the brown wood owl. And hear him call. And then across the Himalayas, we get 15 species of cuckoos, which are widespread throughout the eastern Himalayas, of which 13 species of cuckoos can be found within Phumshingla National Park. Now, Yonkola area gives you the best opportunity to study the different variation of calls the different cuckoos make. And one of my favorite call is of the large hawk cuckoo, which is here. And I have a call which is uploaded. I can play you. It's also known as the brain fever bird. Yeah? Most of the cuckoos, if not all the cuckoos found across the eastern Himalayas, are brood parasitic, meaning that they use other small birds to raise their offspring. And then we get 6 different species of barbets, which are stunningly beautiful, and they are some of our brightly colored birds, and mainly frugivorous. And at low altitude, we get coppersmith, lineated, and blue-eared barbets. Whereas from subtropical to mid-temperate forest, we have blue-throated, great, and golden-throated barbets. 3 of the most common raptors seen across Bhutan are the mountain hawk, crested serpent, and black eagles. All are stunningly beautiful. And then just a few kilometers above Yonkola, there's a small bamboo forest patch, which is particularly good for these 3 species, often seen all the time together. Now, coral-billed scimitar babbler is a rare resident, whereas the greater, which is also known as white-breasted parrotbill, can also be found within the flock. And then the most numerous in the flock is the rusty-fronted parwing, which is a rather stunning looking bird. And then within the undergrowth forest of Yonkola, you should be able to see at least one flock of the exquisite yellow-throated fulvators. Now, this is one of the species that is fairly common along the Yonkola forest, but very rare elsewhere in the world. And then moving up to the slightly higher elevation forest along Yonkola, in the cool broadleaf, you get golden-breasted fulvator, which are often seen together with black-throated parrotbills. So you can see they can appear in mixed flocks. And just in this frame, I've counted 17 birds in this frame alone. And then this is hoary-throated barwing, which is one of the only 2 species we get in Bhutan. Now, hoary-throated barwings can be seen, especially during the springtime, feeding on the flowering rhododendrons, as you can tell by the face of this bird, which is covered in pollen from the rhododendron flower. And it is also one of the 12 restricted range species. And then perhaps one of the most special birds found along the cool broadleaf forest of Namling is the rare altitudinal migrant, the gold shortwing. Now, in the map here, Namling is the only known site for this rather rare species. And this is alpine thrush, which is fairly common and seen during the early part of the spring as they are moving through to their summer breeding ground. And this is a species that is previously known as plain-backed thrush, which is now split into 3 separate species, alpine and Himalayan forest thrush. And the most numerous of the zootheras in Bhutan is the alpine thrush. Also within this forest, you get black-eared shrike babbler, which is another beautiful bird, which can be seen in mixed flocks of sunbirds, euhenias, and tits. And then our next stop is Senggol Valley at 3,000 meters. Now, the forest along Senggol Valley is dominated mainly with towering conifer, with rhododendron and bamboo forest. Now, the Senggol Valley gives you another opportunity to camp for 1 or 2 nights, which is, in springtime, the roadside along the Senggol Valley is ablaze with flowering rhododendrons, magnolias, and azaleas, which is particularly good for nectar feeders such as the firetail myrsonis. which is again one of the top birds from that every birder wants to see. And this one of the most desirable of the Himalayan specialty is the cedar triplan. Can be seen along throughout much of the higher mid-temperate conifer forest, as shown in the distribution map here. They are fairly common in the upper region of the forest zones. Now, the best time to see this mega species is during the months of April and May, and Senghor Valley is one of the best places for this species. This is slender-billed scimitar babbler, which is also known as the sickle-billed scimitar babbler, which is actually an altitude migrant species. And then one of my all-time favorite, and out much of the higher mid-temperate forest, is the bar-throated ceiba, which is formerly known as chestnut-tailed milla. It is a true photogenic species and one that the most obliging of the mixed flocks of tits, warblers, and euhenas. And then we move up on the upper slopes of Chubzang Pass, where you can look for the great parrotbill, which is a bamboo specialist. And great parrotbill is the largest parrotbill in the world. And then we get to Chubzang Pass at an altitude of 3,800 meters, and it is one of the highest motorable passes in Bhutan. And on clear days, you can have a panoramic view of the eastern Himalayan range from this vantage point. And then along the high boreal forest along here, you get one of the highlights from Bhutan, the blood pheasants. And especially during the overcast weather, you should be able to see up to 70 birds feeding just along the roadside, which is like chickens. Then also along here are the Himalayan monarch, which is one of the most iridescent and spectacular birds of the world. It's seen throughout much of the high boreal forest again in Bhutan. Another beautiful bird found in the upper region of the Bhutan's forest zones are the snow pigeon, which can often be seen in flocks of up to 40 birds. Now, this is a species that breeds between 3,400 meters, going up to 5,500 meters, dropping down to as low as 60 winter months. And then from Bumtang Valley, you drive over high pass of Yotongla at 3,450 meters to Trongsa. Again, during the springtime, the roadside is ablaze with flowering rhododendrons and magnolias, where you can see as many as 10 species of rhododendrons in full bloom, which attracts nectar feeders such as the green-tailed and Mrs. Gould sunbirds, which are some of our common sunbirds and seen on everyday basis. And then the fire-tailed sunbirds are rather uncommon, but one of the world's most stunning sunbirds, I think. Also along the Yotongla Pass, in the rose bushes, we get some rose finches, which are some of our medium-sized passerines with conical bills. And then we get to the district of Trongsa in central Bhutan, which is where I come from. Now, the valley is dominated with its historic Trongsa Dzong. And the most dzongs in the country are built in the 1600s, and they serve their primary function as fortresses. Today, the dzongs are perhaps the most striking aspects of the kingdom. And then from Trongsa, we, depending on your duration and time, we travel south to Shemgang and Tingtibi, which is here, to explore the region of the Royal Manas National Park. Now, the forest and habitats along along the Shemgang Road is similar to that of Yongkola in the east, excellent for birds as well. Within the road section, you should be able to see some of our flycatchers, which are fairly common especially during the springtime through the summer. In the upper mid-temperate forest, we get verditer, ultramarine, white gorgeted, and rufous gorgeted flycatchers. Whereas in the subtropical broadleaf forest, we get snowy browed, ferruginous, blue-throated blue, and pale blue flycatchers. We get 3 species of niltabas, which are also stunningly beautiful. They are, and the large niltaba is a little songster which sings from the understory of the mixed evergreen broadleaf forest. Along the waterfall and streams, you should be able to see spotted forktail, which is one of my favorite forktails in Bhutan. And one of my favorite mammals in Bhutan is the golden langur, which is one of the most endangered primate species of the Indian subcontinent. But in Bhutan, if you go to Royal Manas National Park in Shamgang and Tingtibi, it is a species that is guaranteed. And if you sign up on a tour and come to Bhutan, and if you don't see one, I will refund your tour, 100%. It is also one of the reasons why I named my company as Langur Eco Travels. Quite often you can see them in groups of up to 30 group. As you can see in this photo, there were like 15 individuals just sitting by the roadside, and they were just named. And then arriving in the subtropical forest of Tingtibi, you can explore the upper region of the Royal Manas National Park, looking for one of the critically endangered birds of the world, which is the white-bellied heron. And the global population of the white-bellied heron is estimated at only 60 individuals, and is one of the world's, I think, 50 birds of the world. And of that, 28 are counted in Bhutan, which makes Bhutan probably the best place for this species. And I have a short video of the bird feeding on a large fish. And then within the subtropical bamboo forest in Tingtibi, we get some of the very rarest species of birds found in Bhutan. They include the lesser rufous-headed parrotbill, which is also known as pale-billed parrotbill, regularly seen together with white-hooded babbler, which is another special bird and found only within Tingtibi's bamboo forest. And then the uncommon white-browed scimitar babblers, which are stunningly beautiful species. And then this is perhaps one of our shyest woodpecker. It is a bamboo specialist. It's called the pale-headed woodpecker. As you can see in the map, it is found only within the subtropical undisturbed bamboo forest species. Now this is Blythe's paradise flycatcher, known as Asian paradise flycatcher, split into 3 separate species, and Indian. The one we get throughout much of the subtropical forest along in Bhutan are the Blythe's paradise flycatcher, which can also be seen from much of the eastern Himalayas. This bird in the photo is non-breeding male, which is in its rose morph plumage. And then in Bhutan, we get 2 species of piculets, both of which can actually be seen along the Tingtibi's tropical forest. White-browed piculet is a bamboo specialist, whereas the speckled piculet can be found within the broadleaf forest, often favoring to feed in alder trees. And this is common green magpie, which is another very regularly seen bird. It is one of the prettiest magpies in the world, I think. And then if you have time, you can venture further south into cold Royal Manas National Park in Panmong, which is about 80 kilometers from Tangbi. Now you can now think Royal Manas National Park is well known for many mammals, including Asian elephants, gore, which is a cattle species, and species of bats are recorded from this forest and the Manas National Park, which include clouded leopard, black panther, and the Royal Bengal tiger. And some of these most special birds from this park include the buff-breasted babbler, which is a species that is added to the country's list only in 2019 by myself and two other friends, and rufous-vented laughing thrush, which is a rare local resident and perhaps the most rarest laughing thrushes in Bhutan. And by looking at this picture, you can tell how difficult it is to photograph. It's very skulkingly shy. And oriental dwarf kingfisher is another species that is regularly seen among the subtropical broadleaf and dense moist forest. And which is another rare species to find elsewhere in Bhutan, can also be found within the forest in Pambang. Eye-browed wren babbler, this is, and it is another species that is regularly seen in and around Pambang, but rare elsewhere in the world. And it is the only wren babbler species in the Indian subcontinent with a prominent white supercilium and dark eye stripe. And then from Pambang, we retrace our journey back to Trongsa and continue westward to Phopjikha, stopping over at Pelila along here, which is at 3,350 meters. And along here, you can look for small flocks of Himalayan vultures, which can be seen on a regular basis. And then if you're lucky, sometimes they bring in the lammergeier, which is a rather scarce species, often appearing in mixed flocks with the griffon vultures. And from Pelila, we drop down to the glaciated valley of Phopjikha, which occupies an area of 162 square kilometers. And it is a high altitude wetland, which is protected as one of the Ramsar sites. And this brown patch here in the valley floor is all boggy and wetland, yeah, which is home to some 350 to 400 wintering black-necked cranes. Now, these magnificent birds can be seen from early November till late March, just back to their summer breeding grounds in the Tibetan Qinghai Plateau. Now, the global population of the black-necked cranes are estimated at 11,000, and they are classified as globally vulnerable species. And then our next stop is in Punakha at an elevation of 100 meters, and it is about 3 hours drive from Phopjikha. Now, in and around Punakha, you can do some birding along the Punasangchu River, looking for some water birds for a change. Some of the regularly seen species include the crested kingfisher, which is the largest kingfisher in Bhutan. And then we get bar-headed regularly seen with and then occasionally we get passage migrant species such as Pala skull, which is a rather rare species. And then in the stands of Chirpine forest in and around Punakha, you can look for the resident, the slender-billed oriole. And then in Punakha, you can take a short cultural break to visit the magnificent Punakha Dzong, which is located between the Phochu and Mochu River. Now, this dzong is built in 1637, and it is arguably the most beautiful dzongs in the country. And for those who are interested in cultural tour in Bhutan, I would highly recommend you to time your holiday to coincide with the Fest Punakha, which usually takes place in the month of February, which is excellent for especially photographers with all sorts of magnificent colors. And without compromising your main objective, you can travel a little further north of Punakha, this road, which will take you to Jikmeduji National Park, which is again excellent for birds and wildlife. Now, the forest consists of mixed broadleaf forest, which is good for all three species. Now, the Theseus are some of the easiest, some of the smallest birds we have, which are sized between 8 to 9 centimeters. And one of the top target from Bhutan is the spotted alichura, which is which can be seen along this forest. Now, spotted alichura is also it is formerly known as spotted wren babbler, which is no longer a wren babbler, and now it is placed in its own monotypic family. And then along this park, you should be able to see the takin, which is another globally vulnerable species, and it is our national mammal. And then from Punakha, we travel to Thimphu, stopping over at the Royal Botanical Park at Lamperi. Some of the regularly seen birds along here include the brown parrotbill, which is one of the most numerous parrotbills in Bhutan. And then we get two of our medium-sized woodpeckers, which is the Darjeeling and rufous-bellied woodpeckers, which are bases. And then from Lamperi, we climb up to Dochula Pass at 3,150 meters. And once again, from this vantage point, you can have great views of the eastern mountain ranges. And you can also explore the cluster of 108 chortens, which are built in honor of soldiers who fell in clashes with the Indian rebels. Hey! Now this red panda was photographed by Ixi. Wonderful photo on one of Victor's studies. Photographed in 2017, right? This comes from Ixi, and she's from Philippines. Wonderful photographer. Thank you very much, Ixi, for letting me share your wonderful photo. I am always jealous when I look at this look at this picture. Now, red pandas are globally endangered, but they have been showing quite regularly on our birding trips, especially on the higher altitude forest with bamboo undergrowth. And then from Dochula, it is only 45 minutes drive to the capital city of Thimphu, which has a lot of cultural attractions. But for birding, you can travel approximately 30 kilometers north to Dodena Valley, which will take you on the other side of the Jikmeduji National Park, which is once again very good for birds as well as mammals. And along here, if you're really lucky, you should be able to see the globally endangered Himalayan musk deer. And it is very, very sad because the population of the Himalayan musk deer has been declining over the last years due to the overexploitation of the musk that the deer produces, as they are in high demand for perfume and medicine. And then within the forest floor, you should be able to see some of the special birds where we get along here, which is the long-billed thrush. It is a crepuscular species, which is mainly active during the early morning hours at dusk. This is a blue whistling thrush, which is a very, very common and widespread species, which can be found from meters going all the way up to 3,200 meters. It is a stunning little bird, but after a while, it becomes a trash bird because it can appear in every corner of your birding trip. Our final stop is in Western Bhutan, where we have one of the cultural highlights in Bhutan, which is a visit to Ness Monastery, which is situated on a hillside 900 meters above the valley floor. Now, the monastery is originally built in the 17th century, where a renowned Guru Rinpoche meditated, and it is now the most well-known and perhaps the most iconic image seen of Bhutan. And then other cultural activities in the area include a visit to the Paru Rinpung Dzong, which is another magnificent fortress, which is here. And then birding along Paru River, you should be able to see one of the most delightful species from Bhutan, which is the Himalayan riverine species, the ibisbill. Now, although along Paru River, they are very common, but finding one can be very challenging because as you are looking for a boulder with their red beak. And then also within Paro Valley, in the marshes near the paddy fields, you can look for the rare resident, the black-tailed crake, which often be seen in sometimes solitary. I love their striking red eye and the green beak. And then from Paro, you can spend your final day in Bhutan driving up through the ancient forest of fir, hemlock, and spruce to the high pass at Chelila, which is here. And it is at 4,000 meters and about 35 kilometers from Paro. But by now, you would have seen many of the birds in Bhutan. And on your birding trip, you should be able to see between 350 to 380 species of birds in Bhutan, although the maximum number of birds we found on a single trip is in, I think, 2015, where we recorded over 430 species of birds, which was quite a remarkable year. Now, Chelila gives you an opportunity to ascend above tree line. It's again beautiful and excellent for birds and as well as flowers. And again, from Chelila Pass, you should be able to get a magnificent view of the Mount Jomolhari, which is half in Tibet and half in Bhutan. Now, along Chelila, you should be able to see species that you would have already seen from other areas. But along here, it is regularly seen species include the Himalayan monal, Kalich and blood pheasant. Cedar tragopan is also found along this drive, and many species of finches, grosbeaks, and accentus. And then from Paro, you can fly back to the cities of Bangkok, Calcutta, Delhi, and Kathmandu to return back home. Now, just in case if you're wondering what type of transportation we use on our birding tours, we use Toyota Land Cruisers for 1 to 2 guests, which are 4x4 and SUVs. And then for 3 to 5 guests, we use Toyota minivans. And for 12 guests, which is our group size, we use Toyota mini coasters, where you would, each one of you would get a wide window seats to have a better view. And then accommodation-wise, I would say clean and comfortable accommodations with amenities like water boiler, coffee, attached bathroom, which would have a bathtub or a hot shower, an attached restaurant which will serve you Bhutanese dish and continental meal. And for those wishing to camp, especially in areas where you have where in the prime birding locations like in Morong, Yongkola, Sebor, and Tingtibi, we offer you walk-in tents with camp beds and bucket shower. And then we also have our own camping crew to accompany the birding group, who will prepare the meals and serve in prime birding locations, which should maximize the number of species. Often the meals are had in stunning locations with beautiful mountain scenery in the backdrop. This is the final slide of my presentation. Now, just before I complete, I would like to thank again Mike and Victor for giving me this wonderful opportunity. And thank you very much, Ixi, once again for letting me share your photo. And thank you, all the participants. It's been a pleasure to speaking to you all. And if you have questions, now, if you are interested in visiting Bhutan, you can either contact Victor, who we have a tour lined up every spring during one of the best times to look at birds and wildlife in Bhutan, including cultural highlights. And otherwise, if you need information on Bhutan, please feel free to contact me. And here is my contact details. And thank you very much once again, everyone.
Thank you very much. It's wonderful. It's long, but it's very rich. Thank you so much.
Sorry, I hope I didn't bore you down.
I know. Yeah, I know you pretty fast, actually. I know, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to stop sharing the screen. Is that?
Yes, please.
There we go.
Okay. Now we can see everybody. Right, guys, questions.
Michaeli, my sound na? Oops.
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay. All right, Michaeli.
No sound.
No, we don't hear you. Maybe the volume. Maybe the volume.
Elaine has a question. Elaine,
Okay.
Elaine, unmute yourself. Elaine.
Yeah, unmute yourself, then go ahead, ask your questions. Well, Chubzang, since we're traveling like up to 3,000 meters of sea level, is it easy to get altitude sickness?
Well, it is a good question, Victor. But it is quite often we get quite a lot of people who are very concerned about altitude. But in my experience, I have had no problem with guests having altitude sickness. And most of our clients are elderly, and the altitude has never been a problem. But for those, if you are very concerned, I think up to the 2,000 meters shouldn't be a problem. I don't think. But sometimes you would have the slight headache at the high passes if you cross over 3,150 meters. But the best solution is to move down to the lower elevation as soon as possible.
Yes,
Hello,
yes,
can you hear us now?
Yes.
Can you hear us now?
Oh yeah, okay.
Yay! Okay, we just wanted to say, like, Bhutan has always been one of our favorite places, and every time we went with Victor, I think Victor was our first travel to, like, that was our first travel with Victor
yes.
to Bhutan, and oh my gosh, it's such a luxury. We go around the corner and we're wondering, where are we going to have breakfast? Where's it going to be? And then, chung, there's a table.
With
Everything's prepared. Everything's so good. I think I sat on that birding trip.
Oh no.
It was so fantastic.
and listening to Chubzang, it brought back so many memories. And looking at the birds and the places, it was so nice.
It was so nice.
Let's go back.
Go back. And if you haven't been there yet, go.
There's so many things to explore, right?
Really.
Okay. Thank you.
Elaine is asking about the giant crane migration. Can you tell us about something about it?
The crane migration?
Yes.
Black neck crane.
Yes, We actually have four. Sorry.
When does it start?
They start flying back to Tibet by early March, and then they stay depending on cold winter. Yeah, if spring comes fast, then they leave. They tend to leave a bit earlier than usual. But most of the time, it is around mid-March. They start flying back to Tibet. But occasionally, sometimes you can still see cranes around early April, depending on the harsh winter cold.
And
But
then when
they start arriving in early November. I think the first crane last year arrived around 8 or the 9th November,
okay.
and then by end of November, all the cranes would have arrived in the valley of Poptika, where we get around 400 in numbers. But Poptika is not the only area where we get the black-neck cranes. We also get a small population in the far east, in a place called Bumdiling, where we get something like 150 black-neck cranes. And then also a small number, I think something like 25 birds in Bumtang in central Bhutan as well. Hello, Rajendra.
Rajendra?
How are you?
Yeah, Rajendra is your neighbor.
Yeah.
I guess there are so many similarities, right? You know, Nepal, Bhutan, you know, it's on the Himalayan side.
Yes.
Hey, Chubzang,
Hey, buddy.
your presentation was wow, excellent.
Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed.
Oh, I really enjoyed it so much. You know, we are kind of the same geography line, although political variation is there in between Chubzang and myself. And the Bhutan is one of the place really to be there. And I was there last January in your country, Chubzang.
Oh, January. It's very cold, but maybe you are used to because you came from Everest, yeah?
Yeah.
I had a lot of snow over those many passes, and unfortunately, I didn't know. And by that time, my friend, yeah,
Yeah.
I had another friend who sponsored me to be in there. The Ishe,
I know Ishe.
yeah, Ishe sharing,
Yeah.
sponsored me to come to your country.
Right.
Yeah,
You
the
should come back again. I will take you around this time.
yeah, the Ishe sharing who has a lot of connections, among our common friends in Nepal, and the Ishe invite me to come to his country, and I visited, and I definitely recommend everyone to be in like birding in Bhutan. I was so much impressed. Although I'm like a birder guide from Nepal, but Bhutan is one of the such a beautiful country. Although maybe some people who think the money things might be expensive. Anyway, Bhutan has so much to get what you pay for the trip. All right.
No.
I was such an image to be like, those Punakha Jong, and then all these places, and especially, the Asia's place too, at the Yongkhola,
Yeah. In fact,
Rogan Villa, where the places, luxurious place to be, Yongkhola.
now
And that's
I used to work for Ishe for Bhutan Birding and Heritage Travels.
all right.
And we used to take International Crane Foundation around Bhutan to see the black-necked crane.
All right, all right.
That was until 2006.
Okay. So anyway, I stayed at the Yong for quite some time in his
Beautiful
premises.
place.
Yeah,
Beautiful place
yeah.
for,
And that's
explore.
where I saw beautiful nutates. That's where I saw this rufous neck hornbills. Yeah.
Excellent.
And then also they saw, hey, Trogopan.
Yes.
You saw Tragopan in January?
Yes.
Wow, you are very lucky.
Yeah, I was, and along the when we were driving, we saw so many this the blood pigeons and so many other roast finches items and so many things along the way. And my guide was Sonam, and so
Sonam Dorji.
Sonam Dorji, yeah,
Yeah, he's a friend of mine.
yeah. I even went to his house in
In Paro?
Paro.
Yeah. It's a beautiful house.
Rajendra, I have to stop you with one question because we gotta ask Chubzang one very important question. Because one of our friends wants to know is there any possibility Bhutan hosts the ABF in the future?
Well, Victor, remember we talked about this, and
Yes.
actually, I'm really interested. In fact, I was chatting with Kusum earlier Facebook regarding ABF in Sri Lanka and Bhutan. It is something that I'm really interested in, and I'm thinking about getting connections with the local NGOs. And then, if I'm not able to host the ABF, then maybe hand over the job to the NGOs to do it, because because I am a travel agent, and maybe maybe set ABF.
Oh,
But I
yeah.
think if we discuss with RSPN or which is our only which is our NGO, Royal Society for the Protection of Nature, I think they should be able to host. And I'm going to actually speak with them and see if it is possible. It would be wonderful.
Yes, great to hear that. You can work together, Yeah, maybe there's restrictions, but you always can work with the NGO to host an ABF.
Yeah, I think I'm sure it will work out, and it would be a great way to collaborate and promote Bhutan, because it is such a beautiful country, and many people would like to see, and it's little known about the country. So I think it would be a great idea to host or be part of ABF.
Excellent. Mention that ABF in Bhutan, wow, that'll be something
Yes.
great. Right. Any questions from you guys?
Yes, Victor.
Johnny?
Okay,
Yes,
Johnny.
Johnny.
Hey,
Thank
you very much,
Is it afternoon in
Uganda.
in Uganda?
10 minutes past 5 o'clock.
Oh wow! You're in the nature.
Yeah. Yeah, now, thank you for the presentation. My question is, the route that you took us through, how long would it take?
It's a good question, and depending on your time, like if you are you can do it in 10 days, but
Okay.
with very minimal stops. Yeah. So, for example, if you have, you can still do the same stretch of distance in 10 days, but you would have to go dot, right? If you have 14 to 16 days, you can have few nights in these prime locations. For example,
Right.
in Morong Valley, you can spend 1 or 2 nights, and in Yonkola for few nights, and down to
Yeah.
Tingti in few nights. So,
Mm.
but you can do it in 10 days. So starting from Paro and then going traveling through to Samduk Jongkar in the far east, and from there you can travel by road to Guwahati Airport in Assam. From where you can fly back to Delhi for your onward connection. So
Okay.
it
So
really
16
depends
days.
on how you want to do it.
Mm.
But you can
So
also
16
do.
days would be sufficient.
Sorry,
16 days would be sufficient.
that would be plenty.
Okay.
You should be able to see quite a lot if you come for 16 days.
These are birds that I would want to come and see.
Beautiful place for birding.
Yeah.
So as you can say, it is my 20th year of birding, and I'm still birding, enjoying the birds in Bhutan. I never get bored.
Can't get bored with birds. Thanks very much.
No worries.
Johnny.
All right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Yes. Yeah. Before we finish our presentation today, so we gotta take a group photo. Okay, just as usual, please look at the camera, smile, and please do not move. All right.
Taki.
Um,
Wait,
Arakaki, where are you?
turn on their camera.
Arakaki-san. I don't think he's. Oh. Okay. Anyway, look at the camera. Okay. 3, 2, 1, go. Thank you very much. Wait, let me do it again. Let's do it again, okay?
Okay, see you guys next week.
Very much.
Hi to
Thank you,
Fubu.
Chubzang, once again. Thank you
Hi
for
to
the
Fubu and
presentation,
Sonam, okay?
and this is really
Okay.
great.
Bye, Lucy.
Bye-bye.
So.
Bye bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.